Hmm.
Hey, Phil.
Hey Barry, I've got the flu. I'm like 1 foot in the grave, so I'll be muted on this.
Sorry to hear that.
Don't say that.
Oh man, there's a lot of people come down with it. I mean, I have to say more people have non-COVID than COVID from what I've talked to, so that's at least a positive. But I'm not sure which is better, frankly.
Yeah, we had the kids had it, my wife had it, and I'm the last one. So it's been a big week.
Nice to share.
Yeah. But I'll be here listening, and I did write Anne to ask her to give the update on the north-south greenway.
Oh, okay, great.
She'll do that.
Yeah. So Rafat, I guess I was wondering with the committees, so that's something that since we've had turnover, we need to basically reconstitute them. You're on mute.
Hi, Barry.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question because
I was wondering with the committees, since there's been turnover, we need to reconstitute them. Was that why? Because I saw it's on the agenda.
It is on the agenda, and I think Nat is going to project the agenda.
Okay.
And we have 2 new members,
Right.
and they will be joining. We have Barry and Philip so far from the committee, and we're supposed to have 5.
Well, I saw Mark said he wasn't going to be able to make it.
I didn't see that. Oh, you saw that, Nat? You're on mute.
You're on mute, Nat.
Mark said he could make it from 6 to 7. He'll do the first hour of the meeting.
Well, that was the new Mark, and then there's the old Mark said that he would not be able to make it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Mark Solomon said he wouldn't be able to make it today due to a last minute emergency.
Okay.
Well, just our quorum is 4, correct? So we'll have to.
Well,
We have our quorum.
If we're only at 5, then we're 3, right?
yes, we are. It should be 3 if
Okay.
because there's 5 right now.
Great.
And we do have an alternate. We still have an alternate.
Yeah, Anne is our alternate.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, as you can see, Barry, you're basically you're going to run the meeting, and that's the meeting. And we should have shared the agenda with you.
Yes.
That we will do from now on.
Yeah, no, I did get the agenda.
Oh, you did get it. Okay. So here's Anne. Anne's just this. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
All right. You have a big role to play today. I think both Marks are out. So
Oh, really?
Well, one of the Marks said he was going to be here he was going to be available until 7, so he was going to be at some point not able to. He was going to have to take off.
Rafat, we do have Sylvian Freyer who's in the attendees. Could you promote him to?
Let me go there. In attendees, Sylvan is the new commissioner, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay, I want to promote 2 panelists.
Could you make me a co-host?
I'll do that. Okay, thank you for reminding me, and I'll make Joanna co-host just in case. I was in a meeting this morning, and welcome, Sylvain.
Hello, good evening.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
All right, we're all learning the ropes here, so you know you're panelists, so you can speak and your camera is on, and the attendees can only hear you until they raise their hands, and there's time for public comments, and that's when we we will invite them to speak. But the time now is 6 o'clock, and we've been recording for the last 5 minutes, by the way. And I'll leave it to the Chair Bergman to introduce, and basically Nat is your secretary. I'm facilitating, I'm helping, and I'm Rafat Ray with the city of San Rafael, and I'll change my name to reflect that. The meeting is recorded and we can proceed.
Okay. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the December meeting of the San Rafael Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Barry Bergman, my inaugural meeting as chair. So and Philip Mooney is on here, who's the vice chair, but Phil, you may not want to, I know Phil's not feeling well, he may want to just remain low.
Hi, everybody. I'm out with the flu, but I'll be here listening. I'll spare you looking at me.
Yeah, I guess we'll just like to, I know we have a couple of new members, so if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, and then we can proceed on with the meeting.
We'll go to Sylvain because Mark Kyle will not be able to make it.
All right,
Mark is actually on the line.
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, he is there.
Oh, yeah, I thought so too. Well, Mark, you can go ahead. Your name is first on the agenda, so.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
We're just introducing ourselves.
Okay, can you folks see me? I'm on my cell.
No.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, I'm a resident of San Rafael in the Glenwood neighborhood. I've lived there for about 22 years. I have 2 kids who went through the school system. My wife's a medical social worker. I have a practice. I'm an attorney. I do election law and union side labor law. And I've been involved in politics and public policy for my whole career. And I have been a cyclist for a long time, including multi-day bike rides through Europe and in North America. And I do a lot of my commuting by bicycle and my shopping and utilities, running around by bicycle. So I try to use the bicycle a lot, and safety is a big concern, but also climate change and what we can do to make more people walk and bike. So that's my interest in serving on this committee. And it seems like a good place to do that. So I look forward to the challenges in front of us. Is that okay?
Welcome,
Thanks, Mark.
Mark.
Welcome.
Want any more? I can go on. I'm a lawyer, I can talk forever.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn then. Well, you guys are out of luck because I'm also an attorney. So my name is Sylvain Freyer. I live in Terra Linda with my wife and my 19-month-old son, Gabriel. I pretty much every day put my little toddler in the back of my red wagon bike and take him everywhere. So I guess my interest in serving on the this committee is that I've always been, a cyclist my whole life. I was actually born in France, grew up there. Did not have my driver license until I was 22 years old. So until then, I was just walking and cycling everywhere. I actually met my wife in Amsterdam while studying abroad. So great place for biking as well. And when I moved to the US before becoming a lawyer, big mistake. I was a bike tour guide for a while. So, I love riding my bike. I love walking and running in the streets, and I'm a trail runner as well too. So And I believe that, the city can be so much better if we pay a little more attention to the infrastructure and everything to make it easier for people to bike and walk around. Because right now where I live, it's really a really nice place to bike, but it's very car centric. It's very suburban, and so I would love to contribute in improving that a little bit so more people can, like me, feel safe on the road and just bike to school, to the grocery store, and wherever they need to be.
Thank you. I guess given that we have new members, I suppose the rest of us that are already on the committee should probably say a little bit about ourselves. Phil, you may not be up for it right now, so I'll kind of a pass on that. Anne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ann Coyne. I live in San Rafael and I love cycling. I love walking around San Rafael, and I just became on the committee because I also was very interested in seeing what we could do to make it a safer place for all of us.
Thank you. And I guess for the benefit of the new members, Barry Bergman, I've been on the BPAC since 2018. I live in San Rafael in the Picnic Hill neighborhood. Been here for about eight years, maybe. And also work professionally. I'm a transportation planner, and so I've worked on active transportation planning in a number of capacities. Currently working for a consulting firm. I previously worked for a couple of public agencies, so it's great to be able to do what I can for the community where I live in. So that's one of the real values I see in doing this and taking part in this group. I guess I'd like to start by going over the minutes for the last meeting. I see we didn't approve the ones in June or October. Is that right? I was not at the October meeting, so I'll have to abstain from that. I don't know if we have enough members from who attended either meeting to be able to approve those.
I can motion to approve.
Okay. I guess we start with, there's the June and there's also October.
Is that a motion to adopt both of them or one at a
Well,
time?
actually, I guess there's a question, Rafat. How do since we have new committee members, we're not going to have enough people who are actually at the meeting.
Let me
I was
jump
at the
in.
meetings.
Okay, if we have Philip and Anne that during the June meeting, we can go ahead and take it one step at a time. So I take it that Philip motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of June 1st, 2022.
That's correct.
And I can second it.
And second it. And there are,
Okay, and
okay.
and I was at that one, so I can.
Okay, so you can approve it. So we have first, second, and Barry voting yes for it, the only person who can vote. And then we need another motion for approval of the meeting of the minutes of October 5th.
I can move to approve the minutes for October 5th.
I'll second.
Second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so you have approval of the October 5th minute. I mean, it's kind of odd because this is the first meeting of the 5 members, and we kind of consult. It's a new agenda, so you read them, you approve them. We can move to the public comments. We have 3 attendees, Barry, and Barry, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can see if you wish to see who is in the attendees. But Nat is going to be coordinating that activities.
Okay. Okay. So we have the public comment period. If there's any members of the public who wish to speak to anything that is not listed on the agenda,
Please raise your
hand.
hand.
Okay, I'm going to select Matthew Hartzell.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Matthew Hartzell. I am the Director of Planning at WTB TAM. I just wanted to say a word of welcome and introduce myself to the new members of the BPAC, Mark and Sylvain. WTB TAM is a local institution based in Mill Valley, but we're active across Marin County. We have been active in transportation planning, active transportation planning with a focus on bicycle and pedestrian safety and networks and connectivity across Marin County for the last 29 years. And we work closely with BPACs across Marin County. So we look forward to working with you and thank you for your service to this important public committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other further comments? I don't see any hands raised right now. So we can move to the next agenda item, which is number 5.
Okay, so next we have here ad hoc committee formation. I know we've had a couple of ad hoc committees before, and with the some members phasing off the committee and new members coming on, I guess we're going to be reforming these committees so we can continue to track various activities going on and report back to the group. So these are, I guess at this point, are we limited to 2 members then? So we don't have any Brown Act issues?
It would be preferred. I mean, typically the ad hoc committees were 2 members. Yes.
Okay. So let's see, we have the North-South Greenway, which I think Matthew just mentioned. Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which I believe is new. I don't think we had that before, and Vision Zero has been going on for a while. Who do we have from? I mean, I was on the Vision Zero ad hoc committee. I don't recall who was on the other ones or any of the current members.
Phil has been on the Phil and I, but it's really Phil is on the Greenway corridor. And I'm going to do his report tonight since he's not feeling well.
I've been on the North-South Greenway, and I'd like to put my name in the ring for that one to do it again.
Okay, great. Do we have a second member who's interested in participating?
Anne is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anne is.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So then we have the Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
You know, I believe Kate used to attend the Parks and Recreation Master Plan meetings, and she used to report to the committee. So it'd be nice to have a replacement, either 1 or 2 people.
Can I ask a question? Could you, for the benefit of the 2 new members, could you give us a 25-word? What is that one? I looked at over the past minutes, and I think I have a good idea, but just the difference between those 2. And let me tell you what I'm fishing for. Does the Parks and Rec Master Plan include the proposed pedestrian path that over by Target and I'm forgetting the actual name, but along the shoreline there, stretching from not quite the bridge all the way over past Target to the end of the community there?
May I ask to answer the question, Chair Barry?
Sure.
Okay, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan is in the works right now. There is a consultant who's been hired by the city to develop a master plan for all of the parks. I don't believe that the pedestrian, it's a parks master plan, and I don't know if the trail by Target along the bay is part of that or not. I really don't. If it's attached to a park, I would say yes. The discussion about such a path would be in the pedestrian master plan, yeah, because it's not part of a park.
And along those lines, again, for the benefit of the two new members, the Vision Zero is a climate-based ad hoc committee. Climate-based as in, or is it a Vision Zero as in no one gets injured as a pedestrian or bicycle?
Right. It's the latter, and it's not limited just to pedestrians and bicyclists, but that is a pretty heavy emphasis. It's kind of it's a phrase that's caught on quite broadly, and what it refers to is a goal of a vision of zero deaths and severe injuries. So it's focused on safety for all modes of transportation. So it's something that was identified in the bicycle and pedestrian master plan in 2018 as something that the council would follow up and adopt a Vision Zero policy. We have talked about, potentially doing, a deeper effort on that. And I'd say to this point, we've kind of been, there's an interest in it, but there's also other activities happening around the county. So the city has been working on trying to coordinate whatever is done with whatever happens at the county-wide level and to figure out next steps.
So we can say that Vision Zero is dormant for now, or we will get involved in discussions as the county and the Transportation Authority of Marin kind of gets some regional direction into Vision Zero.
Yeah, so I'd like to continue to be on Vision Zero subcommittee, and then if there's anyone else who's interested in joining, then that would be great.
Yeah, actually, I think I would be. I'm always telling my wife, like, oh, we need a speed bump here, and this intersection is really unsafe. Like, oh, and they should really do this kind of all the time. And she actually pushed me to join this committee. So I think
Okay.
that would be right up my alley in terms of interest.
Consider yourself signed up.
Awesome.
Do we
Thanks.
have names for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan?
I guess so Rafat, for that one, it's basically to find someone to attend the plan public meetings and report back. Is that what
Yes.
we're asking for there?
Yes.
Okay. so
I'd be
it's
happy to
moved.
volunteer.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Okay. So next item we
All
have.
right, can I make a quick comment for
Go
the
ahead.
Parks and Rec master plan? It's my understanding that they had requested a member of the BPAC be on that master planning process. And so Kate Powers was actually on the Parks and Rec master plan committee. So I don't know what or if we want to do to update that. But I know, they asked for this. They had a number of stakeholders from various committees. And I know Kate was ours. So maybe that's a question for Rafat, and we could see how they want to deal with that.
We'll do. We'll introduce Mark to the plan, and we'll add his name to the group.
And
Okay.
before you move
Thanks,
on,
Phil.
Barry, excuse me, I noticed there wasn't in the agenda a report on the committees. We normally had a report, and Phil put together a report on the North-South Greenway. So I don't know if I could share it or not.
Yes.
I think that's fine.
I think that I assume that would be okay, Rafat?
Yes.
Not
it is
technically
okay.
on the agenda,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and Phil always puts a lot of time to this, so I really appreciate it. So
Yeah.
thank you, Phil. He's just not feeling well.
Right.
Okay, the Great Redwood Trail. The Great Redwood Trail had its kickoff meeting last month. It is a 320-mile world-class multi-use trail Rail to Trail project connecting California, San Francisco, and Humboldt Bays. The Legacy Trail will travel through some of the wildest and most scenic landscapes in the United States, traversing old growth redwood trees, running alongside oak woodlands and vineyards, and winding through the magnificent Eel River Canyon. There is an interactive map on its website that you can help comment on. My husband went to that meeting and it was very well attended. And I have to do a shout out. I think it's the MCBC who actually promoted people going to that meeting, but it was very impressive. North-South Greenway Corridor. TAM has retained a consultant to do a gaps assessment for the whole North-South Greenway Corridor from the Golden Gate Bridge to Novato. This is important because it's something that TAM has never actually taken ownership of, as it's the only available map of the North-South Greenway and is on the MCBC website. This process is not to develop any new plans, but to catalog what has been done to date, highlight the gaps that have yet to be closed, and provide information about the status of the gaps that are the sites of active projects. They are carrying out a similar effort for east-west travel between Richmond-San Rafael Bridge and West Marin. SMART. SMART has completed an interactive map of the pathway in Marin and Sonoma. This replaces a difficult to read static map that used to be on the website. Additionally, they are in the process of hiring a trail development manager, the agency's first, whose primary role will be delivery of the remaining segments of the trail. The staff member has not been announced yet, but should start at the beginning of 2023. Golden Gate Bridge District. Thanks to advocacy from MCBC, the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District has just kicked off an official Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee, tasked with improving the bike ped experience on the bridge and Alexander Avenue. The group has only met twice and is still in the process of developing bylaws, but will be a good forum for advancing improvements connecting Marin to San Francisco. Sausalito. In August, a pedestrian was hit and killed by an adult riding an e-bike on the Mill Valley Sausalito pathway, just north of Mike's Bikes. While an unusual experience, it's tragic nevertheless. This highlights the need to moderate speed on the pathway and to construct wider facilities to give more space between riders and bicyclists as we see more demand on our multi-use pathways. Mill Valley. The Mill Valley DB Department of Water and police departments are considering extending the area of Mill Valley Sausalito pathway slow zone, the 10-mile section running past Bayfront Park, to encompass the section between East Blythedale and Almonte, which will require cooperation with Marin County Parks. Novato. The shared use pathway being constructed on Roland Boulevard between Vinches Oaks and the SMART train is nearly complete and should be rideable by the end of the year. A segment immediately south of that between Vinches Oaks and Hannah Ranch Road at State Route 37 is high on SMART's list, and they have been applying for construction funds from NTC. The staff grants recommendations, which we'll learn if that project is being funded, should be released in early January. Thank you, Phil, for your concise report.
Can I chime in for one quick second at the end, wanting just to give some context to the new members. We started these ad hoc committees just to make sure everybody was always up to date with things that were going on elsewhere. And so the North-South Greenway is the path, we also call the SMART corridor occasionally too. So it's the path, basically from the Golden Gate Bridge all the way up to Cloverdale is the North-South Greenway. And so part of the North-South Greenway passes through San Rafael. And so that's everything from the Cal Park Tunnel, and then as you go up until we reach into Novato, and there's some various segments that are still going to be built out, that are funded and going to be built out of that. And so the idea for this ad hoc committee formation is for the North-South Greenway, we want to know what San Rafael is doing in the context of the broader North-South Greenway project throughout Marin and Sonoma counties. And the Great Redwood Trail that Ann spoke about at the very beginning, why that is important is the southern half of the Great Redwood Trail is the North-South Greenway. It is the SMART path. And so it's like from Cloverdale up is the rest of the North-South Greenway that they're doing. That's all.
Thanks for adding that, Phil. Yeah, Great Redwood Trail is a very exciting project. So I'm certainly glad. It's great to hear that they are moving forward on that. And Senator McGuire, I know, has really taken the lead and to move that forward.
Chair Bergman, there is one attendee that has his hand up. Do you want to open this up for any comments?
Sure.
Dave Rhodes?
Hi, everybody. I don't really have a comment on the ad hoc committee, but I would like to go back to, if you don't mind, I'd like to just use some time, 2 minutes for my public comment. I couldn't get into the meeting earlier. Is that all right?
That's fine.
All right, thanks, everybody. For the new members, hi, I'm Dave Rhodes. I'm a very active member of the community in a lot of bike and pedestrian issues. And I want to just report on a couple things. One, today I had a really great walkthrough of the Sun Valley Elementary area with Councilmember Eli Hill, where we walked through and experienced the morning drop-off period. And it was as part of a walk and bike to school day, which didn't seem to be super attended in terms of, you know, that activity, that way of getting to school. But it was really insightful because we spoke with several crossing guards, and Eli got to see how fast people go down Fifth Avenue, and also some of the other issues along the corridor for getting to school there. So I wanted the committee to be aware of that, because you may start to get some questions from Eli, and also get some interest in it, because this area is just super important for a safe route to school, and how people driving have made it very unsafe. Some of the new members may not be fully aware, but several children have been hit by cars in the past couple of years and injured going to school or leaving school, and so this is a big issue. So I wanted to mention that for the committee. And then the other thing I wanted to let you all know of is that I've started to lead a group of interested citizens, I shouldn't say citizens, but I should say residents of San Rafael that are very motivated to improve the biking and pedestrian experience within our community, throughout the whole city. And that group does not yet have a name, but we are very motivated to see improvements to our city, and we'll be, you know, hopefully advising and advocating for those issues to this committee, as well as to others and other stakeholders in the community. Finally, I hope you'll be able to hear from me a little bit later on my feedback and my concepts for the 2nd and 4th Street intersection. And that'll wrap it up, but thanks for the time.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate all that. I think safe routes to school is certainly something that is going to be talked about a lot more once we move forward on the bicycle pedestrian master plan update. So, but that's a little ways out yet.
I think there's a lot of stuff that's a lot more urgent than the next version of the master plan. I want to be very clear about that. And that there's stuff that's, you know, we're going to be talking about the stuff that's outside of the master plan. So thanks.
Chair Bergman, I'd like to mention something about Fifth Avenue. When we had the official walk to school day, I would say about a month and a half ago, I think Phil was also part of a group that, you know, the Safe Route to School TAM committee walked the Fifth Avenue a day before Mayor Kate actually walked the Fifth Avenue. And Nat and I have a meeting tomorrow with Parisi, who is a consultant for TAM, and I'm going to ask him for an update. We took the notes of what could be improved, and we left it to the TAM Safe Route to School to bring some kind of a proposal or a working plan that we can continue to discuss and implement as needed. But you know, Fifth Avenue is on our map, and thanks, Mr. Rhodes. I fully understand that it is an urgent thing, and it is something that we are giving it all the attention at staff level. And actually, I think it's one of the items on the possible meeting items for the BPAC to discuss. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for that, Rafat. So the next item we have here is 2nd Street and 4th Street improvements presentation. And is this an update on the current construction project?
We'll hear an update from Joanna Walk. She's a senior engineer with Capital and Improvement Program, and we'll hear a report and we get to see what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Joanne, I'm gonna stop share so you can share your presentation.
Great, thank you. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I'll be providing an update, as Rafat mentioned, on the 2nd and 4th Street intersection project tonight. We'll start off with a quick overview of the current conditions. As you can see, this is a very complex intersection, and navigating through it is quite difficult for pedestrians, bicyclists, and even vehicles. Here we have a street view looking in the east direction down 2nd Street. The goal of this project is really to improve pedestrian crossing and experience, promote bicycle connectivity, especially for the Cross Marin Bikeway, maintaining local transit navigability through the intersection, and simplifying vehicular movement. Overall, we really want to just simplify this intersection and make it more friendly and usable for all modes. Early on, we developed several concepts, which you see a couple here, but due to design and budgetary constraints, we've kind of moved away from these and proposed an updated version back in the October BPAC meeting, which I have here on the screen. We were able to obtain a lot of feedback, both from the committee and the public during that meeting. And based on that feedback and just concerns that we had regarding accessibility, we've also moved away from this concept and have now developed an updated design, which I present before you here. Some major changes that we did was we shifted this intersection towards the west side so that we can maintain access to and from Marquard. Additionally, we've straightened out the intersection and brought it closer together to help simplify the intersection. Starting with the vehicular movements, vehicles are able to head in the westbound direction from 4th Street and merge onto 2nd Street. Local transit use this as their main route. And since we're not bringing 4th Street into the intersection, we kind of address the concerns they have regarding trip delays for their services. Additionally, we're looking into providing flashing beacons to help make the pedestrian crossing safer in this location. We're also maintaining left turn movement and right turn movement from 2nd Street onto 4th Street in the eastbound direction. This concept also maintains the 2 through lanes on along 2nd Avenue, both in the east and westbound direction, along with the left turn movement from 2nd Street onto West End Avenue and Marquard Avenue. Looking from the south leg of the intersection, we're able to maintain the right turn movement from Marquard onto 2nd Street. As for pedestrians, they're able to move across 2nd Street from the south side to the north to this protected walkway, which they can walk along and either cross to the north side of 4th Street with a flashing beacon or continue eastbound through a signalized crosswalk to either the south side of 4th Street or the north side of 2nd Street. Vice versa, they're also able to make it in the opposing direction to cross in the south direction across 2nd Street. For bicyclists coming either from the east or the west direction, they're able to use these new bike facilities to cross 2nd Street and through this buffered bike path and enter 4th Street going in the eastbound direction. We're also planning to put some wayfinding signs to help direct bicyclists towards the Cross Marin Bikeway. So for bicyclists heading in the westbound direction from 4th Street, they're able to use the similar bike facilities through this buffered bike path down across 2nd Street, and either choose to head in the eastbound direction, connecting to the bike facilities, which we will be installing as part of our current 3rd Street project improvements, or head down West End Avenue. Currently, the striping for West End Avenue for the bike facility is still pretty preliminary. However, if we are successful with this current concept, we can further develop those bike facilities to support and continue the Cross Marin Bikeway. Furthermore, with this project, we're looking to preserve parking and have shifted the parking from the north side of 4th Street down to the south side along this protected walkway for pedestrians, and we'll be painting the curb red on the north side. We're also looking at potential locations to place the gateway sign to downtown. Some of the places we're looking at is potentially in the median here or in this location. With the latest concept, we'll be proposes to convert West End Avenue between Marquardt and Greenfield into a one-way direction for vehicular movement. However, we're still looking at potential appropriate bike facilities to allow for two-way cycle movement along West End Avenue. We haven't had the opportunity to obtain feedback from this neighborhood yet. However, we do plan to early next year, once we find out about the grant funding, if we receive it or not. Based on our anticipated timeline, we're hoping to hear back about the grant funding that we applied for early January of next year. If we're able to get the grant funding, we'll be able to move forward with our public outreach, and we plan to come back to VPAC again with an refined design in April, and then proceed to final project documentations in summer of 2023, and hopefully start construction in 2024. If you would like to get project updates, please visit our website at this link below or use the QR codes on the screen. At this time, I would like to conclude my presentation and provide staff's recommendation for the committee to provide comments on the design and accept public comments.
Hey, thank you for that presentation. Are there any committee members that have any questions about the presentation?
This is Mark Kyle. I do. Joanna, thank you for the presentation. It's a little disheartening to see that the roundabout won't happen, but I understand there's financial constraints. I thought there was a huge surplus this year with the county and the city. So
actually, Mark, I just to step in because I know we have some new members. I realize I probably should have said. So we will begin by just asking any questions, and then we'll open to public comment, and then after that it'll be for committee discussion. So I don't know exactly what it is that you want to ask, but I just wanted to that this
sure.
is really for
Joanna mentioned on. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Joanna mentioned on one of the maps that there would be the installation of use the term bicycle facilities along the south side of 2nd going east. And I was wondering, and it just shows it as a green, the map wasn't really clear on that. If you could just tell us what that is. What are those when you say that? What are the bicycle facilities?
Yeah, so then the bike facilities I'm mentioning is kind of what you see here, the striping to delineate the bike path along here, which you see in green. And
right. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Right,
See
and
where it
then
says Third Street
Oh.
project? This is my question. You said, and we're considering putting in bicycle facilities here. So what would that be in that
got
area?
it. So there are bike facilities being installed as part of the Third Street project. And it's a little bit difficult to see in the background here, but it's also striping kind of in these
Oh.
little rectangular areas. And then there will also be bike arrows and symbols.
It's a cycle track that we're putting in, Mark, if I may. There's a cycle track that ends right about this 11-foot typical on where the Third Street Improvement Project. And the plan was always to, along with the improvement of this intersection, that we would continue this gap in the new facility that we are building right now.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Do we have any other questions from committee members?
I have a couple of questions and then I'll have lots of comments too. For questions, am I correct in seeing on 4th Street on the speeding up on ramp to get towards the Miracle Mile, that lane width is 18 feet with no parking on the north side? Am I interpreting that correctly? So there'll be no street parking. So it's just a really, really wide road right there.
Correct. So it's currently 18 feet now. And I think what's happening is we're just shifting where the parking is actually going to be.
So there's no parking on the north side. It'll all be on the south side there.
Correct.
Okay. And then are any of these raised crosswalks or are they all just straight, normal street level crosswalks, specifically crossing that same 18-foot area there onto this little bike pedestrian island you have?
The current design is just all flat because there was some concerns for emergency vehicles and also the buses with having a raised crosswalk.
Okay, thank you. I think those are my questions.
If I may jump in one more time, Philip, I think the comment that the 18 feet might be too wide is noted. Just wanted to make sure that we got that.
I have a question. On the crosswalks that we were just talking about, is it you can walk 2 lanes and then is there a concrete block you can stand on? Do you understand what I'm saying? You're not walking the whole street without is there a place you can stop and then you can walk where you're safer? Like bring your arrow down. Like if you come down, like you're crossing, like this area here, is there a median or something you stand in? I guess there isn't anything, you just walk straight. Okay. I'm just wondering about his pedestrian, how safe is that concrete right there at the curb?
It is a truncated dome and it's flat area. It has to be ADA.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
I think the intention from this very preliminary design is to put this nose to the island to kind of control the movements more than anything else. But the intention is to keep that crosswalk flat. It's not a raised island. I don't envision this being a raised island. Both of them actually, the 8-foot island in the middle and the one to the south. It's just a truncated dome area.
How long does it take a pedestrian to cross that crosswalk? How many seconds?
24 seconds.
And if you're in a wheelchair, the same?
It's going to be a little longer. It depends on whether the wheelchair is mechanical. It might be even shorter. But I think the length of the crosswalk is something that we are considering at the design level. And we haven't done the capacity analysis for the intersection to measure the delay with that configuration yet. But the length of the crosswalk and whether we would allow a pedestrian and a bicyclist to make that in one shot, it's still questionable.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I actually have a question. So for West End Avenue, and there's I know the kind of conceptual potential bike facility there, and you talked about the possibility of making that one way. Is the bottom section of that blue shaded area, is that where the curb line is? The current curb line?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And so the idea would be have one lane of travel, then a two-way bike facility with that, some sort of a barrier there. I guess it's at least the concept.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure I understood that. Okay, if we don't have any more commissioner questions, we can move on to public comment. So we have a couple of participants.
We do. I'm gonna select them based on who came on first. First person to speak is gonna be Warren Wells.
Hi, this is Warren Wells, Policy and Planning Director with the Marin County Bicycle Coalition. Actually, a couple of my comments were already covered by commissioners, but I just wanted to highlight them. Phil's comment about that, the merging lane on the Miracle Mile, which I heard Rafat noted about the 18 feet seeming pretty wide there, especially if we're red striping the curb on the north side. I know that the business owner there at Pond Farm has already expressed concerns about people driving very fast past there. So if we kind of open up that wider, that's going to encourage speeding. So we can maintain that access for emergency vehicles in transit without widening that lane too much. That'd be good. And also was curious about the question about whether pedestrians would be able to cross from that south side of West End to the median island in one phase, like to the median island where there's a two-way bikeway, or whether they would have to hang out between the east and west directions of 3rd Street on the way. So again, just want to make sure that this is already a tough intersection to cross pedestrian, and want to see if we can get some way to improve that while red. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next person is Jean Severinghouse.
Yes, hi, good evening. Interesting design. I'm trying to understand a couple of things. One is this, the pathway, the two-way pathway on that island towards the north, in the middle of, yes, that one. Is that a protected bikeway, or is that actually just striped with buffers from cars? That's number one question. And the second question is, I don't understand, are people coming out of 4th Street going west, are they not able to turn left onto 2nd, 3rd, and are they also not able to turn left into Marquard? I can't quite visualize whether people in that middle aisle there are going both directions or just one direction in cars.
Joanna.
Can I go ahead and answer the question? Or so regarding the first question, our intent is to have a median to serve as a buffer for the bike lane in this area. So it won't just be striping, but like a raised median. And then for your second question, are you talking about coming from 4th Street or 2nd Street? I might have missed part of that question.
Coming from 4th Street, can you turn left at all? Can you go left into Marquard? And if not, I'm not sure that I understand the Marquard piece of it. And can you go left onto going eastbound on 2nd Street?
Got it. So for 4th Street, we're just maintaining this movement from 4th and merge onto 2nd. I don't believe there's currently the option to make a left into Marquard. What we're maintaining is the left into Marquardt from Second Street. So here's the left turn pocket here that allows you to go into either West End or Marquardt. Out of Marquardt, you're able to make a right and then merge onto Second Street.
So there'll be signage of some kind for people coming east on 4th Street that they have to turn left before they get to this intersection if they want to go left. So in other words, there'll no longer be any left turns permitted from 4th Street at this point. Is that correct?
Correct. Rafat, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any left turn movement from 4th Street currently.
No, there isn't.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Next person, Trevor Martins.
Hey there. So I guess taking a look at this, it looks like a lot of movement, a lot of construction that doesn't really change the current flow of things. The traffic stays the same. The westbound traffic on 4th entering the Miracle Mile is still unimpeded. Is there any plans for a stop sign there if there's not going to be a speed hump?
So our current plan here is to put in a flashing beacon to kind of alert vehicles of pedestrians that are trying to cross at this location. With this concept, we are, a lot of the access is still maintained, kind of similar to before. However, we're making it a little bit more simplified and just a little bit easier for all the modes to kind of cross through or make it through this intersection.
You know, and I think we are accepting comments right now. I think the concern of the Miracle Mile traffic speed has been heard loud and clear. We're not going to be able to answer the question of whether a stop sign would work or not, but I can tell you that this crosswalk and the possibility of linking it to the signal operation to make it controlled by the signal is still on the table. And the speed, the approach speed from 4th Street, it sounds to me like it's a concern, and I've heard it twice tonight, and we'll continue to look into it on how we could make this better.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think Warren mentioned that I have a concern. I'm the owner of Pond Farm Brewing, and it seems to me that even with a warning, a flashing light as someone's crossing that section of 4th Street, there is still the potential for cars going 45 miles an hour as someone touches that signal. So the approach is a concern. If there's no change to the current situation, then the approach speeds are still a concern. As it is, it's super dangerous. We're seeing close calls and cars almost getting swiped and pedestrians almost getting hit. So something needs to be done about that. But I suppose it is good to see at least one separate crosswalk if you're going from like West End onto like towards my business. It's down from 3 to 2 crosswalks, so I suppose that is an improvement. I guess that's it for now.
Thank you. Next person, Matthew Hartzell.
Thank you, Nat. This is Matthew Hartzell, Director of Planning, WTB TAM, and thank you, Joanna, for your presentation. As someone who was here at the last BPAC meeting 2 months ago, I just want to say that this design is a huge improvement over the last design. So we're really happy to see that. I think most of our main comments and criticisms with that previous design have all been addressed in this current design. Namely the safety and ease of the bicycle connection between the 2nd Street bikeway, cycle track, and 4th Street. Here it's been clearly delineated and marked and separated as much as possible. And the left turn movement from 4th Street, the previous design had actually added 2 left turn lanes for some inexplicable reason from 4th Street onto 2nd Street, and this design has excised those left turn lanes. So we're really happy to see the direction this is moving in. I will completely echo everything Phil and Warren said about the 18-foot wide right turn connection from 4th to 2nd, and hope that additional traffic calming interventions are designed in there to make that safer. I will pose one question out there, which is for cyclists making the kind of navigating through this intersection to get from the 2nd Street cycle track to 4th Street. Will it be possible to make that entire movement? It looks like there'll be 4 separate kind of crossings interspersed with medians. Will it be possible to do that entire movement on one signal phase, or will it require waiting in the island for multiple signal phases? And I guess I'd be curious to know what the signal phasing plan is for this current design, because I would be somewhat concerned that the pedestrians and cyclists may be facing long waits for their chance to cross this intersection in the north-south direction, while heavy volumes of vehicles in the east-west direction have the majority of the signal phasing. And I'd like to make sure that as much attention to the cyclist and pedestrian needs is placed into that signal phase design as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one last hand, Dave Rhodes.
Thanks. Thanks so much for the time that y'all have spent on revising this and taking feedback, both at the previous meeting and this one. I hope you've all seen my concept and feedback, and I'd be more than happy to walk you through that if you yielded me some time to do that. But I want to give you some feedback based on just at least what I see now, and certainly as we absorb this over the next couple of weeks, me and I'm sure others will have further feedback. But one that comes to mind just immediately is that this goes away from the initial concept of a T intersection, which I believe the initial concept was to slow car vehicles down and make shorter crossings for bikes and pedestrians. I don't think this achieves that. It certainly doesn't achieve the T design. And that means that there's still a fast car movement from Miracle Mile to 4th Street in both directions, largely leaving the design similar to today. And I think that's an issue, especially even the eastbound was a bit of a surprise today to see that there's still an island and a kind of a wide angle approach to eastbound 4th. As it is today, it's confusing as a driver. It's confusing as a pedestrian or a cyclist. It's confusing today, and I don't think this really helps with that confusion. I want to echo next. I want to echo the concerns around that free flow westbound 4th Street to westbound Miracle Mile, right in front of Pond Farm, Urban Remedy, etc. This really does nothing to slow folks down, and I think that's a major concern because of that. And I appreciate Rafat and team's openness to study this further. We really need to figure out a way to accomplish all of the competing priorities of bike and pedestrian safety and speed. I don't think the priority needs to be speed at all. I think that we need to prioritize bus and fire and local access to those businesses for cars. But speed does not need to be a top factor in here. And I think that's the concepts that I sent to the committee last week hopefully addressed some of that, where we don't have to worry about it, or I should say that could address some of those those trade-offs. Lastly, I do appreciate how we're not concerned about a southbound left onto Second from Fourth. That's clearly not needed, but I was surprised to see the return of a left turn to Marquardt where that wasn't in your previous concept. So this is obviously, you have to kind of think through this as outside of just what's on the plan as shown. I'm not sure if it's needed or not. We have to kind of think through a lot of this stuff a little bit more holistically. But I also agree that there's an opportunity here for a nice entryway to the west end and the west end of downtown. And I think this is we have to nail this. This is a good opportunity and can really benefit our whole community by getting this thing right. Thanks for your time.
May I just make a few comments in response to some of the general comments that were made to the intersection? Yes, this is the most critical intersection design that the city will see in a long time. This intersection, the return of Marquardt left turn was contemplated after we realized that we don't want to landlock Marquardt Avenue and send neighborhood traffic into further deeper into the neighborhoods to be able to get in and out. And there are some conceptual checkpoints that we have to make with our police and fire for evacuation and for responding to emergencies in the area. Actually, Mr. Rhodes submitted some interesting concepts that we will further evaluate with the design team. The concept of doing away with the straight through of 4th Street to 2nd Street to Miracle Mile, and bringing it back to a T is something that we would revisit. But I just wanted to make general comments about we cannot. This is not a battle of modes. This is not bicycle against pedestrian or pedestrian against vehicle. This intersection, because of its location, it needs to accommodate all, and that's where the complexity comes from. And I'll stop here, and we will. This is not the end of the line. Actually, this is the second stop here with BPAC, and we need to get your input and a lot more residents and business owners and commuters and bicyclists and input onto this and we only have one chance to get it right and to get all of it right. So we'll continue to work on it.
That is all for all the attendees' comments, but there are a few panelists' comments. Did you
bring it back to the chair to?
Yeah, let's. If we're done with public comment, then let's have committee discussion. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know whose hand was up first, but I'm going to defer to Phil since he's not feeling well. I'm going to let him while he's.
Thank you. I'll try to keep it together during my comments. I would just like to start saying that I appreciate the thoughtfulness that staff is putting into this and sort of the flexibility that they show as they're designing this, and really that everyone understands the importance of this intersection, which is really like the gateway to downtown of our city, which I will get back to that. Starting, I have a lot to say, so I'm going to try to organize my thoughts. So I want to start with positive notes on this design, and then I have some comments about this design, and then I have some broader comments about what I hope could be other designs we could see. So in terms of the positives from the meeting 2 months ago, I'm glad to see that there is a removal of the left turn movement from 4th Street onto 2nd and 3rd. I didn't think that was needed. I thought it was complicated. It's not there today. There are plenty of ways to do that. And I think that makes sense because it frees up some space. Another huge positive that I really like to see is the work that you've done on West End here. I think the idea of moving it to a one-way and having a great bike facility on the south side of West End is important. You know, this is our east-west pathway through town, you know, that we continue talking about. And right now they're building us a fantastic facility towards Gerstle Park. And then that potential project, you know, this enables a potential project in the end to continue, you know, getting us towards San Anselmo and Fairfax, which I think is very important. Okay, so on to this project. So things that I think of, I tried to have it a question before, my question about the wide width. Now it is my comment. I think that wide, that 18-foot width on 4th Street, it seems like everybody knows about. You know, that is a launching pad and a freeway on-ramp right now. And that is what it is, the current situation. I think that's what Trevor at Pond Farm sees, and anyone who goes around there sees that. And so a real concern that I think you're hearing from everybody on the committee is we need to do something to slow speeds down and to help at that intersection. Another thing that I want to talk about is the westbound approach on 4th Street if you are a cyclist. So if you are riding westbound on 4th Street, I think something needs to be done to ensure a smooth transition onto that bike path. You know, to me, it looks like you would be riding in the road. As a bike, you would have to slow down a ton in the middle of the road where cars are starting to speed up, where there's a turn in the road, where there's parked cars on the north side out in front of Pond Farm that are blocking visibility to whatever pedestrians are standing there too. And so when you're a bike, I think it needs to be easy to, you know, to jump over and to get onto the little bike path that's on the island as you go there. In the same vein, I think if you are riding eastbound and, excuse me, and trying to get to 4th Street, it is again unclear the safest thing to do as a cyclist to me. So if I was riding eastbound and I crossed north on the road from whatever future West End project we would have, and we wait at those lights and we cross the street, and then, you know, getting eastbound on 4th Street seems like you'd be on this small bike path and be looking over your shoulders for cars and jumping out in traffic, while also watching for a right turn off of 3rd Street there as you're coming across. I'm pointing at my screen. No one can see that. So that is also a concern. So like the approaches to this center median island bike path, I think would really need to be looked at. Other things that I would like to say, I understand what your concern about Marquard Avenue on the south. I actually lived up above Marquard Avenue, so I know that area very, very well. And because of that, I don't have as much concern about the potential turns off of it. And this is in relation to the last 2 months ago when it was a T intersection. One thing that did is it sort of isolated Marquard. But if you were to zoom out from this view, and that potential view is when you come about, if you were look at a map of Marquard, it's sort of like a U. So Marquard would be this side of the U, and then West Street is over here. So any residents could easily come around on West Street to then get onto 2nd Street and to continue traveling eastbound. In the same way, when you come off Marquard, you could easily turn left and drive down West End Avenue, which is then a one-way street to a signaled intersection that's down at the end of that. And so I understand what you did on Marquard there. I just don't share the concern that you have, because I think the access is sort of not a problem either way. The other thing I'll note is right there at the corner of Marquard, that is a daycare facility. You know, so that is a children's daycare, the Mariposa Bilingual School, which is right there on the corner. And so I think it's, you know, especially concerning because it's now crossing, yes, what the cursor is on there is a daycare facility now, and a large daycare facility. And that is now when you're having a crossing across our east-west greenway as we're going there, out in front of a school. And so I'm not, I don't love that. I would say more broadly speaking, sorry, I'm going on for a long time. It's hard, I had a lot of problems with the design that was presented 2 months ago, but I maybe think I sort of think there's more of a future in a T intersection than I see in this intersection. I think, echoing Trevor's comments, this looks like a lot of changes to have sort of a similar thing to what we have today. It's a confusing intersection, the speeds are really high. And this is a really unique opportunity because it is the gateway to downtown San Rafael. I think the T intersection brought us extra space. It could sort of, we have a median island. It could be a nice and a beautiful facility. To me, this is a very confusing facility. And is it an improvement on today? Yes, I would call it a minor improvement. And I think we could do things that are much better for bikes and pedestrians. And then finally, I certainly understand, I love the bus. I take public transportation all the time. And I know emergency personnel need to get through on 4th Street, but I think we can be creative on ways to do that if we had a different intersection, maybe a bus only lane to go straight if the buses and the fire trucks can't make a right turn. Or I think there's creative ways of doing it without having this freeway on-ramp on the north side. I think I talked enough and I'm delirious, so I'll mute myself now.
Anne, would you like to go?
Yes, oh, thank you. I want to echo what Phil said. I really appreciate the changes and all that. With the interest of time, I just want to tell you, I do appreciate, and I want to echo everything he said. I agreed with. A couple of things I just want to bring to our attention. I think we should be a community that values pedestrian safety. And I don't know if Kate's here in the meeting. Kate, she was the one that really brought Vision Zero to our attention for pedestrian safety. And I think we have to continue with that as a value as we make these decisions. When we have a business owner coming to these meetings to say, this is not good for my business, the street is too fast, people could get hurt, we have to listen. We're a small community. And if we want our community to have businesses and business owners to invest in them, we have to listen to what they say to make it safe for them. And I feel like he's speaking for all the businesses on this strip. And I feel it's very important that we do something to make that traffic slower there. Kids, adults, cyclists, they're in, your strollers, you're going to places there, and you need to look out for your citizens. So that's my number one concern about that area. The other thing, Lauren, educated us as panelists was that if you have too long or it's too hard to cross the street, people start jaywalking, they start, not listening to the lights and things. And I think that could happen here. And I just think we could maybe improve upon the way people are crossing the street so that you don't get people running across the street or cyclists just trying to zip through because they're waiting too long too. I don't know the solution. I'm not an engineer, but I do remember her always educating us on that aspect of the design of streets. But thank you so much, Joanna and Sadat. It was excellent, much better work than last time. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Anne. Sylvan, would you like to go?
Yeah, I don't have much to add here to what Philip said. I think I would have mostly the same comments. I'm a little sad to see that the more ambitious design have been abandoned for budget reasons, because I do feel too that this is still a very complicated intersection, and I don't know how great it's going to be for pedestrian to cross all of this if they have to go all the way from the north to the south. I go to the brewery about once a month to meet some friends and play Dungeons and Dragons, and I can tell you crossing that street is scary. So I really believe the business owner when they're saying that this is dangerous, because people are really picking up speed there, and Yeah, and there's a very popular business there that serves alcohol, and we're definitely gonna have fatalities there eventually if we don't reduce the speed of people coming onto that intersection. And I guess my second point of concern, really, I guess it's been said, but the wait time to cross from someone that would go all the way from the north side to the south side, I'm really concerned that someone will be tempted to jaywalk for the first part to get into that aisle because it's not a straight line. And then there's still 6 lane of traffic. 6 full lane of traffic to cross. I mean, so I guess wait time will really be a key here. Can this be really crossed in one time? And then how long would you have to wait for this? So I just, I'm concerned that this is just still too complex for pedestrian. But overall, I'm just, again, I'm jumping onto this design at this point, but I think this intersection is really a good example of urban L, and it's complicated for everyone. I'm glad the city is putting in the work to try to find a solution that works for everyone. And I'm excited about the 3rd Street bike path that would one day allow us to go all the way to San Anselmo, possibly. That would be great, because so far for me was a relatively casual cyclist. It's scary. There's a lot of things I would do, but I wouldn't put my kid in the back of my bike and try to bike to San Anselmo the way it is today. So I think it's very important to continue that the future bike path going west, to have hopefully one day a straight line there with everything being protected. Yeah. So that'll be it for me.
Great, thank you. I guess I have a few comments I'd like to add. Some of it is reiterating things that people have already said. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring on that 18-foot lane. I think I'm not sure what what width is needed there, but it does seem like it could be narrowed at least somewhat. I think my biggest question is, I'm gonna to join with the folks that asked about the T intersection. I'd like to see if that's something that can be reopened, is to look at that, because I think that addresses several of the other questions that have been brought up. If that could be reconfigured as a T intersection, it would eliminate that through lane. Another thing that I'm looking at is I'm trying to think about, when I go through this area, I'm typically going east on West End. So I'm thrilled that the project further along is moving forward. But I've often, sometimes rather than gritting my teeth and heading down 2nd Street, I'll just cut down 4th Street and then go where I need to go from downtown. I think 4th is just a much safer place to ride under the current conditions. And I'm thinking the way that crosswalk is structured right now, I'm trying to even understand what I would do as a bicyclist, like, or where I'd be expected to go, because you're going north to the island, then you can go from one island to another island, but I'm not really sure where you're supposed to end up. And I would think that if I was going to be heading into downtown, what I'd be most likely to want to do is probably get into the lane about into that left turn lane on the eastbound direction. So I don't know if it's possible to, if this becomes a T intersection, maybe this whole issue goes away. But if it was going to be something similar to what it is now, maybe put a bike box there or something that someone could just, rather than navigate the islands, just get into the left turn lane and go right down 4th Street. Because otherwise, I'm not really sure where they're going to go, other than on the sidewalk in downtown, where we don't really want people on the sidewalk. I'm curious to hear more about, or at least just sort of think about that West End facility and what that might end up looking like. I think it's good to have a transitional facility from the cycle track. But when I've been on West End, I ride there quite a bit. I've almost never seen a car on it. And so I would hate to think that we're going to invest a lot of money in a facility on West End, which I'm not sure how important that is. And really all you're doing is you end up connecting it to what is a class 3 on Greenfield. That is always going to be a class 3. So I'm not sure how much benefit we gain, but something at this intersection is important. So it might be worthwhile just to enable this transition. I think that's about it for my comments. So, but I appreciate the work here, and it certainly adds some nice improvements over what we've got now. I will say that. That's all about all I've got. I guess I would like to know, and I missed the last meeting, so I apologize if this was discussed then, but a question for staff. Was the T intersection option taken out? Was that a cost issue, or what was the rationale for taking that one out of consideration?
Is Joanna still here? Okay. Well, I tell you what, the T concept was removed because of the difficult bus movement from the previous one. If you can go back, Joanna, to the concept that we brought back the first time, this one here, it was, as you can see, we're way off here on a lot of things. But one of the things that we were discouraged from is the bus movement. We had one before this concept that had the Miracle Mile straight through closed, and the bus is making a left turn to make a right turn, and that was a difficult movement. And the transit expressed concerns about extended delays because that is on an important bus line. But we can bring it back. Actually, Joanna, if you can go back to the latest concept that we presented tonight, there's still room to bring it back. And I think Dave Rhodes actually had submitted a PowerPoint that was, the concept of bringing the whole island here and pushing it toward the curb line seems doable, and I liked it, and I like the idea of, based on tonight's comments, of keeping some kind of a continuous bicycle movement on 4th Street into Miracle Mile. That's something that we need to take a look at. But we can bring back the T intersection concept, and we're going to take the recording of this meeting and present it to the design team. We're going to take a closer look at what Mr. Rhodes submitted, and we'll continue to work on this. As I mentioned, we have meeting with the fire and police. We will take their comments and see what we can do with it. The business community's comments about speeding is very loud and clear. We'll have to do something about that. So I think we got good feedback. But the whole T concept, the T intersection concept, I can see that it could be brought back. We might have to lose the right turn from 2nd Street to 4th Street in order to make it work, but we'll see, because that movement is not easy either. The westbound movement from 2nd Street to 4th Street is not an easy movement to make, and you need to have a decent truck template design to allow all vehicles to make that turn, and that's taking a lot of space out of the intersection. So we'll continue to work on it, and we'll be back to you.
Just curious, do you have any counts for that intersection to know how many people are making that movement currently?
We do, and the counts are very low.
Okay.
I remember 27 in an hour. So
okay, well, it sounds like we I guess we've gotten comments from everyone's here. I think Mark had his hand up, but then I know he had to leave early, so I think we might have missed him on that.
Okay.
So thank you for the presentation and the discussion. For it. I think it sounded like there's a lot of good ideas came out of that.
Nat, can we have the agenda back? Thank you.
Okay. Housekeeping is next. Sorry, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be referring to.
Were there any items that you wanted to discuss in regards to housekeeping?
I didn't have anything on there, so I know maybe that's just a placeholder, but I didn't have anything to discuss. Okay. Well, that being said, I see we have the next scheduled meeting is going to be on February 1st. And I guess the question is has there been any decisions made about whether the committee would continue to be meeting remotely or if there would be a transition back into in-person, or is that still, we're just kind of going as is until further notice?
My understanding is there's some state initiative to after February to bring live meetings for all board meetings. So it's really up to us, collectively, the committee, to see what works best for you. For public meetings in general, Zoom is an option. The bigger the meeting is, the more complicated the logistics of a meeting room and speaking arrangements and all of that. But it's really up to us. I mean, if you wanna wait until February to make a decision on it, well, let's do that. If you wanna meet in person in February, we can also do that. The council meets right now in the chamber, and the chamber is equipped to have both options. We just need to get a little more training as to how to operate a hybrid meeting.
Okay, that was my next question. It was about, because I do think it's nice to have the remote participation option. We certainly, get more people joining than would otherwise be able to join. But I mean, just from anecdotally from people I know and all I'm hearing, I know there are a lot of people sick with various things at this time, and as we get into the winter months, it's a little unclear which way that's going to go. So I do think it's probably keeping the remote option for the next meeting seems like a good idea, and after that we can maybe revisit that and see where we want to go next.
In regards to that as well, I did ask April today, Rafat, about whether these meetings will be going in person or not. And she did second that and said that it'll be up to the group to decide moving forward in future meetings, because there's a lot of new members to kind of vote on that and to make a determination whether we continue Zoom or in person.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good item for the next agenda then.
Okay.
For the future agenda topics, was the intention was that would be for the next meeting or just at some point in the next few months?
We can actually do it both ways. I mean, we can if you would like to see a future agenda topic, this is the time to add it to the list.
Okay.
Staff felt that these 3 items is on our immediate radar right now, and Philip has comments.
I would like to add Fifth Avenue by Sun Valley to these future agenda topics.
Yes.
And in regards to the bicycle and pedestrian master plan, we've talked about that the last few meetings. What I'd like to hear sort of from staff, as I recall, I think none of us here were involved with the previous master plan. Barry, were you on the committee for the previous?
I arrived late at the tail end of it.
I think my start was the first meeting after it. I believe is because I had a temporary appointment first. So I would like to hear from city staff to get a clear expectation of what that process looks like and what it means for us, if that's possible. It's like what we're getting into.
I don't think any of the current staff we heard that time either.
That's correct. I did not participate in the development of it. Yeah, I mean, let's bring it as an agenda item and actually get the committee's feedback on maybe we can have a proposed path, timeline, public outreach. We can do a visioning session next time, and maybe we'll give the new members an opportunity to get familiar with it. And the bicycle pedestrian master plan update, it commingles with Vision Zero as well. I mean, we need to define these steps as we move forward.
Can we have people that aren't on the BBAC committee on the helping out with the bicycle master plan?
Definitely.
Okay.
I have two more things just to put on the radar. The first is currently right now there's the Parks and Rec master plan process that's happening. As I understand it, when that is complete, which I think is this year, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself and it's next year, there's going to be a trails and open space master plan coming next from the Parks Department. And the reason I think that is important is a lot of the trails and open space in San Rafael involves mountain bike access, and lots of people ride their mountain bike on the roads to get to those trails. And so I would like the BPAC to be involved in that process. You know, and ideally they would look for feedback and get one of us from this committee onto that Trails and Open Space Committee, and I would certainly raise my hand for that. That was the first one. I had a second one, but I can't even, I barely remember my name. I don't know what it was.
Looks like you're struggling.
Yeah. Just a question about the SMART grant. Is that something that the city has submitted and is waiting to hear from? Is that?
Nat?
So the Strengthening Mobility and Revolutionizing Transportation Grant, we just applied for that 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So we're still waiting to determine whether we received it or not, but it's basically using data analytics, artificial intelligence, motion tracking, LiDAR, just traffic emergency devices to kind of help alert pedestrians, vehicles surrounding the downtown area near the transit station. So we'll wait for to see if we receive the grant, and if we do, then we'll bring that up to a future meeting to present on it.
Okay. Well, I mean, it might be interesting to hear that anyway, you know, whether this funding comes through or not, and, you know, if it's something that the city is going to continue to be looking at, I think it'd probably be useful for us to understand.
We could do that.
Phil, you remembered your name? You had something to say?
I thought of my other item. As we're going into the bicycle and pedestrian master plan process, I think it would be useful to have a talk with staff about our last master plan. And that master plan has all sorts of action items. And so it sets out year by year action items in a variety of categories. And it sort of gives us goals to work towards. And I think it would be interesting context to sort of see which of those goals we've achieved, what other things that we've done, and sort of, you know, it's a task for how well we've performed. We could get graded over the last years of the House City and BPAC. So I think that would be useful when we're learning about the master plan too. Hopefully that made sense.
Okay. Well, great. No, I think we have some good items for next time. So so thank you for coming up with those. And I think
And Chair Bergman,
yes.
Before we do adjourn, there is one attendee, Dave Rose, that does have his hand up. Do you want to see if he has any future or further
Sure.
comments? Okay.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks so much. Really just commenting on this housekeeping item on the agenda and logistics. A couple of things. One, I think the hybrid meeting approach is a really cool idea. I've been attending City Council and Planning Commission meetings. They're working pretty well. So I think that's awesome. And the other thing is, I'm wondering if this committee would be open or interested in moving the start time back to by 1 hour to 7 p.m. For those of us that have young families. The earlier start time is pretty challenging. I know that's tough for staff. I imagine it's tough for staff. I don't want to presume, but I just would love it if the committee would consider that as part of the future, agenda and whatnot. So have a think about it, and maybe that can be something considered in the future if that made sense for the committee members and for staff. Thanks a lot for your time, everybody, this evening, and preparing for all the stuff. So thanks.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move, we adjourn.
Second? I'll second. Okay, well, I guess we are assuming that no one has any objections. Let's adjourn. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in February.
Great
Thank you.
meeting, Barry.
Thank you. Get well from
Thank you,
it.
Barry.
Take care.
Happy holidays, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for all your work.